Salutations, Rangers! General Bradley 101 back at you with some more lore. And in today's video, we're talking about the Orky base. Right now. Okay, that was a terrible orc accent. I can't do an orc accent. I wish I could. It's like the one accent I could do. Because I can do a Cockney British accent, yeah? Because we're talking about that. But then it just turns out to be Scottish. And then I'm lost the plot. And then you can't be the Irish then. So I don't know what to do about that. But then again, it is what it is. Also, if you happen to be from any one of those three demographics, genuinely, let me know. How is the accent? I think it's pretty good. Relatively speaking. But orc accent? Can't do. But today, we're talking about the fungus among us. The green chungus. The bungus with the big shooter. I couldn't find a word that rhymed with pungus. Oh, shooters. Chungus? Chungus? Pungus? Okay, I'm getting off track. We are talking about the Orks. So, for those of you who don't know, the Warhammer 40k community consists of 95% of the most beautiful, wonderful, awesome people you will ever meet. And the community grows daily. More and more people are learning about this, and whether it be lore nuts like myself who need to know what type of coinage is used on a certain world in the Tempestus Segmentum, or if you get chaps who just really like the giant shooty robot, which is beautiful. The fact that human beings can connect on such an amazing level like that. I don't know, I'm being sappy, but it really is such a great feeling when you meet someone who's like, oh my god, you like this thing too, yay! But I think that's just human beings. Now what about that 5% I hear you asking? Well, those are 5% of people who are just, well, that guy. What is that guy? Imagine any bad thing ever or any douchey thing ever done by anyone was that guy. But there are a few things that the community as a whole can agree on just by the nature of the lore itself, because it's been around for literal decades. However, we can agree on a few things. 1. The Emperor was a bad dad. 2. Jukukari are the most messed up faction that there is. And 3. Everyone loves orcs. If you meet a Warhammer person and they say they don't like orcs, they're either just got into the universe, or they're that guy. If they are the latter, run away. If they're the former, make sure to educate them on these beautiful green chunky lads. So, if you are new here, you may be asking, right, well, why do people love the orcs so much? And I'm gonna tell you why. As with all good things, let's start with the beginning.
In the beginning, yeah.
At the very beginning, there was something called the War in Heaven, which had old ones, which were space dragons, and they were the original gods of the universe. They created life and worlds and whatnot, and they ended up in a war against the Necrons, who were controlled by the Catan. The Catan being like gaseous space vampires. So, space dragons versus space vampires with undead Egyptian Terminator robots, as well with giant powered armored super soldier orcs, and Eldar, which were even more psychically intuned, somehow. Old one tech was crazy. So they created a few races, one of them being the Eldar, and another one being the Ork, or the krork, as they were known. Now, the krork was essentially a superhuman orc. So imagine a space marine, but an orc. And also imagine an orc, but more like Warcraft orcs, in that how they are, relatively good and competent and have the same intelligence of borderline a human. And imagine a Warcraft orc, but then genetically augmented and enhanced with power armor. That's essentially what a krork is. Now, that should simultaneously give you a hard-on and make you shit yourself, which is an interesting combination to say the least. But I feel like that's the krork for you. Doesn't make you know what to do with yourself. Basically though, TLDR, the Catan won, and the old ones were basically destroyed, but then the Necrons overthrew the Catan, which had enslaved them, and they decided to take a nap. After that, the krorks didn't really have anyone to fight, so they ended up fighting amongst each other and devolving, because they were bred with that instinct, that ability to fight. They were warriors. They needed conflict. Keep that in mind. So the Eldar just left the orcs to their own devices, and the orcs the krorks devolved into the orcs. And the Eldar had their golden age until they murder-fucked so bad that they birthed a god. Pretty simple for the Eldar. Now, why do people love the orcs? Here's why. We have something called Waaagh energy. How to describe Waaagh energy? Simple. Let's say you have a boy. This boy finds a stick, and he's like, man, I wish this stick was a chopper. Their version of an axe, mind you. And another boy comes along and says, oi, git, what you got there? And the other boy says, oh, just a stick then, isn't it, you git? It's like, nah, that's a chopper. Nah, you get it's a stick. And they have an argument. And then they take that stick to their boss. And the boss is like, what's that? And the boss is like, oh, that's a chopper, innit? And the other orcs around them now automatically believe that it's a chopper because the boss said it was a chopper, so they believe him wholeheartedly. The boss being the leader or the bigger orc, because orcs live in a hierarchical society and culture where the biggest orc is the best orc. It's literally it. So all the orcs are convinced that this stick is now a chopper. So they go into battle. The orc boy has his chopper and he comes across a Imperial Guardsman. Now normally an orc hitting you with a stick, few cracked bones, but you have a chance of surviving. But when this orc boy hits this guardsman with the chopper, he's cleaved in twain. Why? Because the orcs believed it's a chopper, so therefore it will act like a chopper. The orcs have the literal power of imagination. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why people love the orcs so much. They have the literal power of imagination. If you have enough orcs in one place, they can literally do anything. Fun fact, there was a story about orcs in a spaceship. Their spaceship got damaged, so they went outside to repair it. Another orc spaceship stopped to lend them a hand, and proceeded to point out to the orcs, "Oh, you gits, you're out in space without a spacesuit, you can't do that." At which point, all the orcs who were working perfectly fine on the spaceship without spacesuits then realized what was wrong and proceeded to die. That's the orcs. And in a world like 40k, where it is grim darkness, the comic relief, mind you, are genetically augmented, enhanced fungoid creatures, because orcs don't have normal reproductions. They are based off the reproduction cycle of a mushroom, a fungus. They reproduce via spores. So literally, if you kill an orc, he will just grow more orcs. So they're, again, genetically augmented, enhanced fungoid creatures designed for Waaagh. And they have the innate desire, the warrior's mentality to fight, but that has devolved into literally any fight is a good fight. And they have the literal power of imagination, not to mention they're stupid as all hell, which is why people love the orcs. Because if you combine incredibly powerful with incredibly stupid and the power of imagination, you get stuff like this, and this, and this, and this. As I said before, everyone loves the orcs because they are stupid. Not stupid in just the mental sense, but stupid in every sense of the word. They are stupid, and they are the happiest race in 40k because they are, one, sentient, and two, they enjoy fighting. And well, what if they die from fighting? Well, then they died getting a good crumpin', and that's fine. And they'll just come back to life because, like I said, when you kill an orc, unless it's with fire, salamander noises, you then spawns more orcs. And that's why people love the orcs. They are crazy and stupid and funny and so funny. And let me just give you examples of some of the stuff they make. One, we have something called the teleport blaster. Not teleport, teleport blaster. For those who don't know, the orcs are based off 1980s British soccer hooligans. It shows. So the teleport blaster essentially works by sucking up a krot or a Gretchen, which is 40k's equivalent of goblin or lesser orcish creature, and they literally suck them up in one end and then they shoot them at the target via teleportation, so that the grot goblin creature will literally materialize inside of the Space Marine and then proceed to explode inside the Space Marine. That's one thing. We then have something called the Shock Jump Dragster. Now this particular thing has something known as a shock drive. It powers its main weapon, a shock cannon, which is a giant lightning bolt fired from a cannon. It also has a unique property of it. Whenever the engine is activated, it has the ability to randomly teleport to different locations. So the shock jump may shoot, scoot, and then randomly teleport inside a mountain. Because. And then we have something called the Killer Can. This is essentially a Space Marine sized mech for a Gretchen or a grot, a goblin. And it's called a Killer Can because it's a can, literal can. The cockpit is literally a can. The orcs literally call it a can because it's used as a can and has killer bits on it. See those sharp little things? Those are killy bits in it. That's the orcs! And that's why people love them. Because they're stupid. Hilariously stupid. But they're so goddamn funny! Like, I love their names for their vehicles and stuff. It's just... the Boomdaka Snazwagon, the Gob Smasher, the Brain Crusher, the Bone Burner, the Gun Wagon, the Gun Tripper, the Deft Killer Wartrike, the Mega Track Scrapjet, Custom Booster Blaster, the Rocket Truck Squig Buggy. Oh yeah, that again brings me to squigs. These are squigs. Now, what is a squig exactly? A squig is essentially a type of orc fungoid. Let me explain the hierarchy real quick. We have grots, which are essentially snotlings, which are a level below goblin, snotling being the fantasy equivalent. We then have gretchen, which are goblins. We then have orcs. No orcs. Squigs are above. Yes, squigs are above grots. It's a mistake. That's real fact. Orcs are not a forgiving society. And then after orcs, we then have knobs, which are essentially sergeants, and war bosses. Boss just being, the boss, the leader. The biggest orc is the best orc. That's straightforward and simple. And that's basically the hierarchy of the orcs. Now, as I touched on before, the squig has different varieties. There's like 30 plus of them. Again, there's enough content to make a squig video if you guys want it. But the main varieties are the classic squig, pictured here. And then we also have the bomb squid, which is a squig attached with bombs. The squigith and the Orchiosaurus. Ah, God, fucking Orchiosaurus, man, I love orcs. Which are essentially giant titan-sized armored dinosaur squigs. You ever wonder what happened for T-Rex fucked a mushroom? I don't know why you would think that, but to each their own, you kinky fucks. So, now let's talk about the different orc clans. Now, there are 6 clans in total. Obviously, there are more that you can make, and each clan has a specific color that's usually associated with it. By the way, remember how I said orcs have the power of imagination? So they believe that a particular color has a particular power, and we will go over them as we go over each clan with 2 or 3 at the end that just fit broadly. First off, we have the Goths. The Goths are the standard baseline orc. They're the poster boys, essentially. And they are black, because black is tough. Not tough, tough. So they have black armor. Their infantry especially is known for being tough and durable because they have black armor. It's literally it. And they're special because they're home to the closest thing the orcs have to a supreme leader, that being Gazgul Mag Urk Thraka, the prophet of Gork and Mork. So, real quick, Gork and Mork. One is brutal but cunning, the other cunning but brutal. Those are the 2 dual gods of the orcs. Basically the 2 giant planet-sized gods who fight each other for all of eternity in the warp. It's literally it. Very orc, very simple. And Gazgul is the biggest orc to date, and is essentially, like I said, he's the closest thing that the orcs have to a supreme leader, because he's basically bonked and bashed so many orc war bosses that all their boys pledge allegiance to him, because the biggest orc is the best orc. And it's scary because the only thing keeping the orcs from overrunning the galaxy is the fact that they always fight each other and they cull each other to keep them in check. However, Gaz has proven to unite a fair chunk of the orcs, and he has put the Imperium under serious threat. There's a whole war series called The War for Armageddon, which is about it. So, little insight now how scary that is. We then have the Red Sons, the Evil Sons. I beg your pardon. I've heard it say both ways, but they're orcs. And these are particularly fast orcs. They love the color red, and they love their vehicles, otherwise known as jalopies. Man, I fucking love orcs. So, they are members of the Cult of Speed. We'll touch on the cults a little bit later. But essentially, they love to go fast. They're, I want to say mechanized infantry, but that is a big stretch for orcs. But they just like going fast. They paint this shit red. Red goes faster. And yes, for orcs, if you paint it red, it does actually go faster. And that's the Evil Sons. They're primarily members of the Cult of Speed, and they love speed. Their whole thing is about really going fast and hitting hard. We then come to the Snakebites. Now, the Snakebites are a particular type of clan, and they are known for being clad in white, generally speaking. White's a big part of their stuff. Now, white makes you more killing, the literal definition. If you paint a blade white, or you paint a particular armor on a squig white, it will become, the blades will become more sharp, the teeth of the squig will be more sharp, the rifle or round will have more penetration, etc. And the Snakebites, as the name suggests, they believe particularly in beasts. They cultivate various different kinds of squigs. They field squighogs, squiggoths, etc. They believe that the old ways are the best ways. They still use rifles and some weapons, but they are much more into that bestial tribal nature, if that makes any sense. A very tribal-like society. Next up, we come to the Bad Moons. Now, the Bad Moons are commonly clad in gold or yellow, and basically gold is the color of wealth, you know, and yellow is the color of explosions. But orcs don't really know the difference between yellow and gold that much, so in some cases it's either really good and expensive or it is really explodey. So if you paint something yellow, it will explode better. And the reason why the Bad Moons are associated with gold is because, well, orc currency is teeth. Not teeth, teeth. And the Bad Moons, their teeth grow back faster than regular orcs. Now, this is not seen as an unfair advantage to other orcs, as you can always find a Bad Moon and punch him in the face to get teeth. And literally orc war bosses will have Bad Moons around just to be punched in the face to get more teeth. As stupid as the orcs are, it's something very refreshing to have such a simple society. It's simple, it's easy, you don't have to think about it. You know, it's nice. Then, after the Bad Moons, then come the Death Skulls. The Death Skulls are known for two things. One, looters, and two, being lucky, hence why they are blue. The color blue is associated with luck. Basically, whatever the Death Skulls see, they take. Whether it be from any, like, they have no qualms. They even steal from Custodes, but they usually die before them, because Custodes are way overpowered. In fact, they are so underpowered in lore it pisses me off, but that's a different story when I have a Custodes video. But yeah, they will steal anything from anyone, including themselves and other orcs. And it's funny because people always complain, like, you know, the orcs, the Xenos don't have any models, but technically any model in the range could be an orc, because you could always just grab it and kit bash it to be orc and say the orcs looted it. Like, it's a literal thing that you can run looted stuff in the game because the orcs looted it, because they're orcs, which is hilarious beyond every aspect. And God, orc players, I think the reason why orc players are so happy is because they can just kit bash anything they want. God bless you, orc players. God bless. Right, and then finally, but not least, the Sneaky Gits, also known as the Blood Axes. Now, the Blood Axes make a large amount of commandos. Commandos being the orc stealth elite, and they are viewed by other orcs as being sneaky gits. You know, dishonorable in a sense. But here's the thing, this is a tactical plan commonly used by orcs, commandos of the Blood Axes. I'm gonna go over here, implant me bomb, and when it explodes and them umis come over here, you then jump out from over there and yell Waaagh and charge them. And the orcs consider this to be on the same level as what Space Marines consider the Alpha Legion and Raven Guard. Man, I fucking love orcs, man. Just whenever you read about the lore of orcs, you're like, how do people not just fall in love with these guys? They're just so crazy, stupid, and amazing. But yeah, that's orcs. There are just two things left to touch upon before we close out. Number one, the term Docker. You've heard me say it a few times before. What is Docker?
En episodios anteriores.
I heard you like Docker. Where's your Docker? Docker is the orc word for firepower. Literally, there are several quotes will be like, you got a problem? Just needs more Docker. Literally, more firepower, more guns, more bullet, more ammunition. Also, the term Waaagh. Waaagh is literally orc for war, and what happens is when enough orcs gather together, that psychic buildup, that psychic energy that they have, builds up to a point where they have the need to fight. So they will go on what's known as a Waaagh, and as more and more orcs gather, and as the need for a Waaagh becomes more and more potent, they'll be able to unlock certain things that's built in their genes, in their DNA. For example, once an orc group reaches a certain point, you'll start getting what are known as mech boys. Mech boys are essentially the engineers of the orcs. Well, that's a fucking loose term to use on an orc, but the orc equivalent of engineers. You got weird boys, which are orc psychers. Orcs learn, just literally, it just clicks in their head how to make artillery, how to make mech suits, how to make spaceships, how to make giant, super tanks, because it's built in their genes and in their DNA from the old ones. So literally, the bigger an orc horde or an orc Waaagh gets, the more psychic buildup comes from it, and the deadlier they become. So literally, the more orcs there are, the more fucked you are, because they're orcs. And last thing I just want to touch upon is just a nice little story. Courtesy to Adeptus Ridiculous for showing this to the world. I will link their original short down below, as well as with more Orky goodness, because you love orcs. Basically, you have an Imperial God company holding off orcs, right? And they're just coming and coming and coming all over, and like you don't know what the hell to do, right? So eventually the guardsmen run out of ammo. So the company commander gets an idea. He grabs his las gun and he goes bang, and the orc falls down dead because the orcs still believe that they have ammo. So he and his men grab the guns and they all go bang, 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 and so orcs start falling over left, right, and center. However, they then see this one group of orcs coming together and they're all huddled up with steel plates, right? And basically they keep on shooting, right? But the orcs, they don't go down. And as they get closer and closer, the orcs, you start hearing them, right? And the orcs are chanting this: I'm a tank, 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 I'm a tank.
I fucking love Orks.
Fucking love orcs, man. Like, honestly, the funniest shit in 40k has to be either fucking Trazen and Orican, you know, pissing each other off, or just anything to do with orcs, man. Orcs are great. If you don't love orcs, you have a problem. This is the first of the orc videos. There will be several other orc videos. I will take any excuse whatsoever to make a video about orcs. I love orcs. They're just fantastic. Anywho, I have been General Bradley 101. You have been beautiful, awesome, and amazing people. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and let me know down below what type of orc video you'd like me to cover, or any other Xenos video. I know this channel is very Imperium heavy, but I am an Imperium fanboy. What can I say? But you have been beautiful, awesome, and amazing people. Stay honorable out there, boys and gals, and I will catch y'all next time. Dismiss, Rangers.